Sam, how you doing?
You know, for a redhead, I can't complain, Tyler.
I know you look good. You got your drink shirt on.
Got my Jinx shirt on.
Got your Diet Dr. Pepper, Diet Coke.
So I do a little bit of Mountain Dew Code Red.
Ah, okay.
With the rest Pepsi Zero.
Ah, okay.
And depending on
Locked off exclusive.
Depending on, I'll do Voltage if they have Voltage.
Oh,
Mountain Dew Voltage with the rest Pepsi Zero.
God, Mountain Dew comes up with some good flavors.
So good. I kind of sold my. I say this jokingly, but I kind of did, sort of. I didn't.
Sold your soul?
I sold my soul to Mountain Dew like when I was a kid.
Yeah, me too.
I promised I would taste every single flavor. And then they just decided to come out with 10 million flavors. So every time I'm like, I'm not going to drink soda anymore. Then I find a new Mountain Dew, and they go, damn it.
Huh.
I guess I have to try it.
Interesting. Huh. Yeah, I've been drinking Mountain Dew since I was a kid too. And I have one probably every night while I'm like just like settling into like routine, and you throw on a show. But the one that I think I most enjoy, besides the original, is Pitch Black in a can. Pitch Black in a can was some good shit. You remember that?
Yeah, I'm just adjusting my mic.
Does mine okay too, or do I need to put mine on top of my shirt?
Yours is probably pretty good.
Okay.
I just don't want.
It's like right next to my neck and stuff.
Like, let me just double check. Thanks for sticking around here, fans. But I just feel like every time you just hear myself breathe in the podcast.
Breathing on the podcast? Oh, shame on you for breathing. I can't hear anything.
I definitely can hear that shit.
Huh.
Gosh. And it's because I have like a deviated septum. So like, it's just loud. Let me just try this.
Do I need to lower mine too then? Because I'll probably breathe just as loud as you do.
No, it's always me. It's not you. It's not you, it's me.
Okay. Huh.
Sorry for all of the audio noises, people. But I'm trying to get this sorted out. Ugh. It's really bad. I listening to it back and forth. Gosh damn it. There's got to be another way. You know what? I'll just face it away.
Yeah.
It's not ideal.
Better?
Check, mic check.
Check, mic
It's
check.
probably a little... Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Well, me and Sam just got out of the movie theater. My first movie of 2025. Is it yours too, or have you been to the theater already?
I went and saw Nosferatu.
Okay.
Even though that came out Christmas Day, I saw it in January.
Okay. This is my first time, your second time, but our first time seeing a movie that was released in 2025. Yes?
Yes.
Cool.
Wait, say that again?
So you've been in the theater in 2025.
Yes.
But it was to see a movie that came out in 2024.
Correct.
And so this is your first time seeing a movie that was released in 2025 in the theater.
Pretty sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty sure.
Well, I have good news and I have a question.
Okay.
The good news is that movie we were talking about a couple episodes back with the signs. Remember what we're talking about? The one where you're driving into Louisiana and there's a sign?
3 billboards outside of Ebbing, Missouri.
So I couldn't find it. I found it on YouTube TV, and it's recording tonight on network television or something. So I will get to see it in a couple days. I'm really excited. I saw it was
nice.
Queued up, and I was like, oh, very good. I get to watch this movie.
They are filming. They just approved a Martin McDonough film in Utah here.
Really?
They're shooting it this year.
What is it? Do you have any? What is it about?
Shoot. I can't describe it to you. I don't know what it's about. I read the log line. It has like killer cast as always. Sam Rockwell.
Are you going to be involved?
I would like to be.
How did you go about getting involved in something like that? It's filming in Utah, or they already have like cinematographers that they work with.
Oh yeah. I wouldn't be the cinematographer on that show. Like,
so they wouldn't hire like local talent.
They would hire local talent, but not at the cinematographer level per se. Like, it's going to be the same cinematographer that Martin McDonough has worked on with every one of his films, but like further down the line, they'll hire local crew to do a lot of stuff.
Okay.
So, but I probably won't because I just don't do. I just do cinematography now. I don't do any other positions, so I wouldn't.
Okay. Well, I'm excited to watch that movie. 2 is the question of the day, Sam. I was watching a movie this last weekend with my family, and I just really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed this movie, and I'd seen it before. I hadn't seen it in a couple years, and I was like, "This is some funny shit." And it was a rom com from the mid 2000s, the peak time of rom coms, right?
I'm gonna try and guess what this is. Keep describing it or whatever.
Well, if I describe it to you, you'll know what it is exactly. But I'll give you 3 guesses.
Talladega Nights.
No. I'll give you 3 hints, and you can guess. You just wasted 1 guess. The Miss United States pageant.
Miss Congeniality.
Yes. Oh, you see that? One hint, and he knew it. I watched that, and I was like, "This is." I was laughing my ass off. I was like, "There was jokes in this thing that I shouldn't get until I matured." You know. Like there's a scene where it's like,
Funny, dude.
it's like she's getting ready to do her talent, with the glasses and stuff, and she was like, "Look, I have this talent. I've been doing it since I was 15. It'll be like riding a bike." And Michael Caine's character is like, "You are not having sex on that stage." And I was like, "Oh, that's funny! Like that's so funny." They went completely over my head as a teenager. I had no idea that was even being discussed or whatever. And I'm watching it now. I'm like, that is funny. And there's stuff that whole movie. Sandra Bullock is so good, and it got me thinking about because like the rom coms now, they're kind of few and far between. Even the ones that you see aren't as good. Maybe don't have the heart they had like in the mid 2000s, where like there were some peak rom coms with Matthew McConaughey and all these different people. So I was thinking, if you had to pick a favorite rom com from that era or just in general, what would it be?
Oh man, well, I do not watch rom coms.
None at all.
Like none. So the only thing I can think of is Anyone But You that came out last year with Sydney Sweeney and Glenn Powell.
Okay.
I went and saw that. I really liked it.
I did too.
I bought it on Blu-ray. I just thought that was just super fun. I was like, okay, for a rom-com, I like this. This is
that was
great. Other than that, I'm like not a rom-com.
Really?
Yeah,
I thought everybody was a rom-com.
I don't really know what rom-coms I've even seen.
Have you seen Miss Congeniality?
Yes.
Okay.
I guess I don't. Maybe that's a rom-com. I don't remember.
You should revisit it.
I haven't seen it in 15 years.
Yeah, it's on Netflix right now. And I know we're working through a lot of different content. Like we're working through a lot of different things. When you have time, if you have time.
Well, I used to watch that all the time.
Oh, dude, it's so good.
Like my cousin, anytime I think of Sandra Bullock, I think of my cousin Stephanie, because she and her family like loved watching Sandra Bullock movies, and so we would watch Miss Congeniality. Now I'm forgetting the other one that we would watch all the time. But Miss Congeniality was like frequent.
Yeah.
But it's so funny. I've seen it probably a dozen times, and I can't remember it.
You should watch it again. It's like, so my grandma passed away this weekend, and as like a sibling, like siblings, my grandma used to let us watch movies that were maybe a little above our age. We should be watching some of these movies, and so me and my siblings, we watched 3 movies this weekend that were a blast from the past, and 2 of them I think are my favorite rom-coms. One, Miss Congeniality. That is some good shit. It's so funny. The jokes that are made, the characters, the dynamic between like this rough FBI agent and the pageant, the discussion on feminism, it's got so much heart in it. At the end where she's like this tough FBI agent, she spends time with these women. She's like, I really do want world peace. Just good stuff. The other 2, The Hot Chick. Have you ever seen The Hot Chick?
Bro.
The Hot Chick is so good. That is so good.
Is that a rom-com?
Yes.
No, it's just a straight-up comedy.
I think it's a rom-com, dude, because he connects with
I mean, just because there's a little bit of romance in there, like that is straight comedy.
Okay, fair enough. I'll give you that one because there is probably not the most romantic. I think part of that movie is Rachel McAdams' relationship with herself, because it's a really she just becomes what
you just said maybe my favorite rom-com of all. It's not even a rom-com.
The Hot Chick.
No, The Notebook.
Okay. No, that's not. That's definitely not a rom-com.
Not a rom-com.
No. That is a straight rom. That's a straight rom. But that's a good question for future episodes. We can talk about the roms.
Which
I don't think I've ever seen it.
There's not a lot I don't watch.
No, I can't even think of one on the top of my head that I've. Maybe at La La Land. Maybe
And
does that count? That's also
I
musical.
haven't seen it.
Really?
Yeah, I don't really want to.
Yeah.
But now that you're saying this out loud, maybe I've seen actually more rom-coms than I think I've seen, and I'm classifying them as
Comms.
no. Maybe I'm saying I'm not like a rom guy. Like I don't watch romance movies,
But you like the comms.
but I do like the coms, like the rom-coms to a degree.
Okay.
But no, I don't spend a lot of time. Now that I'm thinking about it, to a very little bit, Walter Mitty is a bit of a rom-com.
Yeah, you could count that. I think maybe just on the edge.
I wouldn't.
Maybe.
Yeah, I wouldn't. It wouldn't. I wouldn't say it's anywhere classified as a rom com.
Yeah.
But I think someone could watch that and go, "Oh, that's a bit of a rom com." I
Yeah.
mean,
I think so too.
Cheryl Melhoff, come on.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I love the hot chick. The hot chick was so funny back when Rachel McAdams was just an up and coming actress. Rob Schneider, so good.
I didn't even remember Rachel was in that.
Yeah, she's awesome. She's awesome. And then I think the third movie we watched is not a rom com at all.
I know mine,
What
but
is it?
you go.
It's Beverly Hills Ninja with
Okay.
Chris Farley. Classic. One of Chris Farley's most underrated films, in my opinion. But Miss Congeniality and The Hot Chick are my two rom-coms. My favorite rom-coms. I think The Hot Chick has a slight edge at this current point.
Okay. All great, by the way.
Yes.
Like all really good. Eurovision. Will Ferrell, and Rachel McAdams. Have you seen Eurovision?
I've never even heard of this.
What?
Is it rom-com? Is it like a com? Is it like a...
It's a rom-com. I mean, it's a comedy, but it's a rom-com because I would say it's a rom-com. Will Ferrell, Rachel McAdams, and they joined the Eurovision competition.
What is Eurovision?
Eurovision's like Europe's version of American Idol, where countries go and compete. And it's a real life thing. Then they made a movie about it called Eurovision. Came out, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago. And I fell in love. I've seen it a handful of times. There's
How old is this?
3 or 4 years.
Really?
Yeah. It's Team Iceland. They're Team Iceland. They live in Iceland. They're from the town of Husavik. I drove through Husavik, Iceland,
connection, of course.
listening to their song that sings "My Hometown." It's this cute little small sea border town. Anyways, the relationship between Rachel and Will is surprisingly good. I was so surprised at how I'm like, gosh, there is some chemistry here in the silliest of ways. But one thing that I still remember as a moment. Will Ferrell his character says something like, "But I'm a dreamer," and she goes, "But you're my dreamer." And it's so warming. It's so good. Eurovision, it's hilarious.
Okay, Eurovision. Okay, I'll check it out. I'll put it on the list.
Man. Ya ya ding dong. Sing! Ya ya ding dong! You'll get it.
Oh, is it the same movie? Okay.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of good. I was thinking there's so many, in my opinion, comedy peaked at that time. Like The Hot Chick, Miss Congeniality, Benchwarmers. Have you seen Benchwarmers? God, that is so funny.
Benchwarmers,
Oh my goodness. And then there's one that I'm not super proud to admit that I liked, but The Ringer with Johnny Knoxville. Gosh, it's awful, but it's so funny.
It is funny.
It's so good.
It is funny.
And it's got heart.
It does have heart. And I mean, it probably would not be made today.
Definitely not.
However, I still think it's like a super heartfelt movie.
Yeah.
You know?
I do too.
And what a cool opportunity to include in the movie, right?
Yeah. Do you think that culture that we're in has kind of killed comedy? To be funny, you have to be pretty careful.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Because really and we'll talk about this what the movie we're going to talk about, but some humor just doesn't hit. You know, you're just like, okay, I can tell that was supposed to be a joke, but
Well, take Todd Phillips for example. You know who he is?
Yeah, the director of Joker.
Joker. But do you know what he directed before all that?
Taxi Driver.
No.
I don't know.
The Hangover trilogy.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Huh.
He was a huge comedy guy.
Interesting.
And now he just does dramas because
Comedy's too hard.
he can't direct the comedies anymore. He wants to direct.
Yeah.
Because people are too offended. Like,
interesting. I'd never put that correlation together just because I just kind of feel like comedy really died out, you know? Like, I haven't gone to a movie because it looks funny in a long time. Like, you know, growing up, Will Ferrell coming out with a new movie every 10 months or something. I was always in the theater to see his new movies, and some are obviously better than others. Like, you know, Step Brothers, I laughed my ass off. Other ones like Blades of Glory were fine. But it just like now, even some of the jokes they were making in Miss Congeniality were hilarious. But I'm like, in front of the wrong crowd, this would be crucified.
see, and that's like, it's like, this is going to be controversial. If you don't like it, don't watch the damn movie. Right? Like, comedy is a way to just talk about hard things, express hard things. It's a way to just figure out how to talk about some things, right? And I'm not justifying, you know, certain behaviors, but I also think people are so overworked today.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, get over yourself. If you choose to be offended, that's on you.
We're spun so tight too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can tell just like by the reviews on like Rotten Tomatoes for like something like a Dave Chappelle showing on Netflix, where the people that are watching it as an audience, like they're going to watch Dave Chappelle for a specific reason, and they're loving it. But the people that are there to maybe critically think about what he's actually saying hate it because they're pissed off about it. Yeah. It's like, what do you expect?
Don't go to a fucking Dave Chappelle show if you don't want to be offended.
Yeah, it's like, don't go to Red Lobster if you don't eat fish. Why would you go there? Why? They sell lobster. That's in their name, lobster. You don't like fish? You're gonna go and be like, okay, I don't like fish. What can I order here?
Yeah.
Well, you can leave.
Well, I'm offended because you don't
didn't
serve me
care to
what
me.
I want. Mm-hmm. It's like, well,
yep. Take 2 of these. Call me in the morning. No, I just so that's why it sparked my question on my drive back home. I was like, I'm gonna ask Sam this week on the pod about his rom-com experience. But you probably need to like go back and think about it and come back and report, because I think that you have seen way more rom-coms than you are leading on. You just categorize them as coms.
There was another rom-com that I did go and see a couple years ago, also Sandra Bullock, and
The Proposal.
No, but I think I've seen that.
Yeah, with Ryan Reynolds. That's like 15 years ago. That's not new.
No, it's a couple years ago. Sandra Bullock, I believe it had Channing Tatum, had a little riff with Brad Pitt. It was really funny, actually. Had Daniel Radcliffe in it as well. They went on this tropical island. I'm just really curious. You don't know what I'm talking about at all.
Zero concept of what you're talking about.
Oh my gosh!
I might get the name, but what you're describing, I have no idea.
The Lost City.
I've heard of it.
That one was really fun. I actually really enjoyed that. That was a lot of fun. Yeah, but rom-coms, maybe Sandra Bullock is the queen.
Yeah. She's really good in The Proposal. Great in Miss Congeniality 1. I remember Miss Congeniality 2 being kind of a letdown. I'm sure you look like her filmography, what she's done, you'd be like, oh yeah, yep.
I wonder how old I was when Miss Congeniality came out. I was a teen. I was a teenage boy, I'll tell you that much.
It came out in 2000.
8 years old. I was not a TJ boy.
Because it showed me on Netflix that it came out in 2000.
Okay.
Yeah. Huh.
I felt like a teenage boy.
Yeah. Oh, she's beautiful in that show.
Yeah.
And Anyway, great stuff, rom-coms. But today we are not talking about a rom-com. We are giving a review on the new Marvel movie, Captain America: Brave New World. And we've held our thoughts. Usually what me and Sam, pre-podcast, we would as soon as the movie ends, we start to chat and talk while waiting for the credits to roll, and we do like a little mini review while we're sitting and watching the credits roll. This time we held out because we wanted to do a review for Captain America: Brave New World. So Sam knows one of my thoughts, and I don't know any of Sam's because we held out until this moment. And so now's the big moment of Sam. What did you think of Captain America: Brave New World?
Well, and I just want to make sure my mic's recording still. It looks like it is. I I well, I remember distinctly thinking while I was watching it, well, it's not Morbius.
Yep, I had that same thought.
This is not Morbius level bad. And then I thought, and this is not Guardians of the Galaxy 3 level good. Overall, I was just like, yeah,
It's a movie.
it's another film money grab for a superhero movie, and now it seems like they're just begging to bring audience members in by throwing in Harrison Ford, Liv Tyler, I forget his real name, but Gustavo Fring from Breaking Bad,
Yeah.
Tim Blake Nelson. I did think, oh, Tim, why did you have to come here?
There's a couple. I can give some context to that. But you finish your thoughts. I can give some context to those characters.
Um, and I also just thought from the very beginning, I'm like, the first 5 minutes, I remember thinking to myself, how many VFX shots have I already seen in the first 5 minutes? Like all of it. All of it's VFX. So much of that movie's VFX. Yeah, man, and even most of even like, to be honest, even most of like the character performances from the big players they brought in didn't really like land for me. I'm like, I can tell that you're really trying to make this emotional, but I just do not care. Like, and I'm thinking about caring just because like you're a good actor, but I do not care about anything. And as I was taking a shit before we started this, I was thinking to myself, what was the point of that movie? I don't even remember, other than now there's adamantium on the planet. Is that it?
Yeah, potentially. I guess when you okay, let me take this back a little bit. So I think what you're describing, the first thing, as I wrote this down, is this is a Hulk movie with Captain America as the lead. Now, those characters, like Harrison's fourth character, he's replacing a character that passed away. He's replacing William Hurt. You remember, you know who that is? William Hurt is he played Thunderbolt Ross. He's been in the MCU a couple different times. He's been in.
I'm gonna look him up.
Yeah, look him up. You'll recognize him.
William Hurt.
William Hurt. He was in the Incredible Hulk. He was in Captain America: Civil War. He was in Captain America: Infinity War, and he died. The actor died, and so they replaced him with Harrison Ford. Liv Tyler and the other guy you mentioned, the Tim Blake, is that his name?
Tim Blake Nelson.
So they were actors in the Incredible Hulk film, the second film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that came out in 2008. And so
Who was?
the Timothy Blake, is that his name?
Tim Blake Nelson.
Tim Blake Nelson. He was a scientist that helped the Hulk become the Hulk in 2008 in the original Incredible Hulk film. It's also part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Really?
In 2008. That's why Liv Tyler, because Liv Tyler was in that movie too, she was the Hulk's love interest, and she tried to convince her dad, who at the time was William Hurt, to not hunt the Hulk.
Okay, I remember this. I remember this.
Yeah. So, and this is one of my issues with the movie, I think, is, so the thing I like about this movie is it was a standalone film, Like there wasn't like, well, I'm Captain America. I gotta call in Thor to come help me. I gotta do all these different things. I gotta bring all these people. It was a Captain America movie. However, it should have been a Hulk movie because those two villains are Hulk villains, and they premiered in the Incredible Hulk movie in 2008. There's two plot threads that haven't been wrapped up, and so they brought them back 17 years later. Um, and to understand all that's going on in this movie, you really have to be like a student of Marvel. Like you really have to be consuming all their content. Like Isaiah Bradley, the Black Captain America, the old guy. If you have not seen a specific Disney Plus project, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, people have no idea who that is.
I had no idea.
But you didn't.
I had no idea who.
So basically, he's when Steve Rogers, the Captain America, went into the ice, they put the super soldier serum into a black soldier, who then they put in jail for 30 years because racism and because of all these different things, where they experimented on him for 30 years until they finally let him out of jail. That's why his character is so like, whoa, I don't know about America. I don't know. That's how I've got superpowers. He's been locked away for 30 years in the U.S. government. And they bring his character in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, because at that point, Captain America, Steve Rogers, Chris Evans, gives his shield to Sam Wilson. Anthony Mackie is like, you're the new Captain America. And that whole series is that character wanting to reject that offer because he's a black man in modern America. And meeting Isaiah Bradley is what encourages him to take on the shield to inspire America to do better when it comes to their black population. But unless you've watched 6 episodes of that, you have no idea who that character is, right?
No clue who that guy was.
So you get that. And if you're not actively like listening to like podcasts or watching TikTok or whatever, these characters, like Harrison Ford's character, who is a replacement, Liv Tyler and Tim Blake Nelson, like they've already been in a Marvel movie. It's just been 17 years. This is movie number 35 in the MCU, if I'm not mistaken. They were in movie 2 and have not made an appearance since.
I wonder if they're getting residuals for all of this.
I hope so, man, because it was nice to see the guy back, the Tim Blake Nelson. It was nice to see him back because there's always been that plot thread, but they could have given him like more to do in this film. So that was one of my issues with the movie. Issues for like people like you that maybe don't watch this stuff constantly, to where like at this point it would be really hard for you to just go to a Marvel movie, sit down and understand exactly who people are, where they've come from, and what they're doing at this moment. Because there's these Disney Plus shows, there's these cartoons that sometimes are part of the program as well, and the universe, it's just getting so big that someone that doesn't follow all of it can't walk into a movie anymore and be like, okay, so who is this person? What is this person's motivation? Why is this person that way? Because there's just so much content. And I think it's just this universe getting so big to where unless you spend 3 weeks consuming all their content, you have no idea what's happening in this current moment.
I felt like it was, here is an iPhone update OS operating system. And if you haven't been an Apple user, you don't know what the fuck is going on.
Yeah. Because I was thinking about that in that movie. I was like, I know that Sam...
And even if you are an Apple user, this new operating system is like, what the fuck is this? I can't follow any of this.
It's like the new iPhoto app or upgrade from the iPhone.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about that in this whole movie. I was like, I know that Sam has missed a few projects along the way. Like the movie stuff, like I know that you're into, but you probably have only seen maybe once or twice at most, unless it's like Guardians of the Galaxy, right?
I basically since Endgame, I just stopped watching.
Okay.
There might be 1 or 2 since then, which was Guardians 3,
Wakanda Forever, Spider-Man.
Yep, Spider-Man.
That's probably it, right?
That's it. No TV shows, none of the spin-offs.
Yeah, so like since Endgame, there's been at least 10 TV shows. All of them about 6 episodes long. And at least 2 of those you have to watch and understand what's going on in Captain America, Brave New World. And like, I guess it's part of the beauty and the curse of like a growing universe where it's so big that for us it's following like me, I was like, oh, it's nice to see this character back, or I'm glad she's back, or I'm glad they found someone like Harrison Ford to replace William Hurt. But for people that maybe can't consume all of it or not interested in consuming all of it, it makes it really hard to walk in a movie and understand everything that's going on. And that's where that's an issue that I have with the movie too, is that they tried to over explain it to you. Like Harrison Ford's character, Thunderbolt Ross, he said, Betty, my daughter, at least 5 times this movie. Trying to let you know, okay, just in case you forgot, because it's been 17 years, Betty is my daughter. Betty is my daughter. And the dialogue in it, it's like, well, yeah, we know. You don't like you wouldn't tell your Secret Service person, Betty, my daughter. Betty, my daughter. It's like, yeah, I know who Betty is. Like, you don't need to tell me that it's my daughter every time that we have this discussion.
Yeah, I do remember that.
I have a list. Do I have my list?
Yeah, I'll just also really quick say, like, Harrison Ford will not be in another movie. Well, that might not be true, but it probably is true. The dude's old.
Yeah.
Like,
and you see it in this movie. You see just
the dude's old. He's not going to be in another Hulk movie.
no. Well, unless I'm sure they paid him a pretty penny to be in this movie.
Well, they might do another AI version of him like they did in Indiana Jones,
true.
Younger version.
That's true.
But it's like, how much did Harrison Ford cost for this movie? How much did Liv Tyler cost? How much did Tim Blake Nelson cost?
Because back in the day, Liv Tyler, I mean, she was a little bigger because she'd just come off Lord of the Rings. But Blake, he was he's probably fairly new at that point. 17 years ago, people might not have known who he was.
He was doing things.
He was still doing things.
Yeah. But
I do have some thoughts.
Yeah. So, anyways, well, my whole thought about that is like, how much was the budget of that movie, and how much went to those actors?
$200 million.
$200 million.
I did some research on this, and a lot of it was spent on reshoots. And that's one of the things on my list.
And that because
you notice. Because you notice.
And I'll tell you, the reshoots. Why they do the reshoots? It's because probably the scenes didn't work. The script was not good.
Yeah, I could. They did some test screenings from what I've read in the news. Obviously, take it or leave it. The test screenings with this movie were not good, and so they kept doing reshoots. I'm going to start off with the bad. I'll go into the good, and I'll give you my overall verdict.
Okay.
The bad, the dialogue. Some of the dialogue in that was really corny, even for a superhero movie, because they tried really hard to make it like a second go round of like Winter Soldier. Almost to a T. Like, The Winter Soldier is probably one of the best superhero movies ever made, and maybe the best Marvel movie. And it starts out, Captain America kicking ass.
Over Logan.
I said debatably one of. Not better than Logan. But it's definitely top 5. Definitely top 5. But no, nothing's better than Logan. Nothing is better than Logan. We had a whole discussion about this.
You did say maybe the best Marvel movie.
Oh, in the MCU. That's my content. In the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I can't give you a movie that's better, in my opinion, than Captain America Winter Soldier.
Not even Logan?
Logan's not in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's in the X-Men universe.
Okay.
Marvel's, Iron Man, Captain America.
I see.
Everyone that was involved in Infinity War, that's the MCU.
Got you.
But no, if you're just going Marvel as a whole with the Marvel brand, it's definitely Logan.
Got you.
But it's almost like they tried to replicate it to where Captain America kicking ass, first scene, uncovers a conspiracy, has to go to a military base, his friend gets hurt, and then there's a big fight involving politics at the end. Is almost exactly what Captain America Winter Soldier is like, but the Winter Soldier had so much more heart in it. You could tell that the Russo brothers were just given free reign to make that movie. Because in a different world, that speech that Captain America gives at the end of Winter Soldier, where it's like, the price of freedom is high, but the price I'm willing to pay. Now, when he gives that speech, you're like, fuck yeah, Captain America will kick these Hydra Nazis' ass. Because the heart was there, and it was portrayed in a just a better environment where you cared about what was happening in that film. And this one, the Captain America, I liked the Captain America in this one. I feel like he gave it his all for what he was given to work with. But there was some dialogue there. I'm just like, that didn't hit the way that they wanted it to hit. Like you said it was like, you have to do this the hard way. That's the line that stuck with me. Like, I guess I'm going to be the guy that does this the hard way. Like, in a different movie, that would have come off really cool. But this one is just, you could tell the studio did a little bit too much like messing and reshoots. There's obviously some conversations there of actors that are not in the same room because like there's like behind the head shots where just like this one person is talking, and you're like these people are not in the same room, and it's obvious.
Yeah, I had a lot of problems with the dialogue. Like a lot of the scenes just were forced. Like the scene in the limo as they're driving to the whatever,
When they're getting drunk,
and it was just like a time with the boys in the back of the limo, but it didn't feel connected at all.
No.
And I just like, what are we trying to? What are we? Is this a frat party? What are we trying to like convey? What's the purpose of this scene?
Yeah.
There wasn't.
No. No, and that goes to my second thing is so the last couple of Marvel projects, for those of us that have followed really close, people have not been happy with. Things like the Marvels, things like She-Hulk. That's why Marvel took essentially a year off from releasing content that wasn't Deadpool and Wolverine. There no TV shows, no new movies, so they could fix their product, add more heart in it, give a little bit more time to like the VX people to do their thing and make good stuff. Because you talk about like the post Endgame Marvel Cinematic Universe, to where, you know, Endgame is arguably the biggest cinema event in history, with like 20 movies all interconnected, all meeting in one moment, right? And it made, you know, it went back and forth between Avatar, like who was going to be the highest grossing movie of all time. And I think Disney was just like, you know, we can put out anything to these people and they will consume it. We'll just make money. And they started producing content and not quality content. There have been some good things since Endgame. I love Spider-Man. I loved Wakanda Forever. I loved Guardians of the Galaxy 3. But there have been a whole lot of stinkers. And the fans have let Marvel know towards like, look, we have to take a step back here, make good story. Like you and JC talked about this, where it's like story above all. We have to make a good story, a story that includes superheroes, and they haven't done that. And so Captain America: Brave New World was like the last movie, from what they've said, with the old Marvel, where they're trying to get away from that, just giving you content and shifting to the new Marvel. And so you kind of get like mixes of that where you sense like the old Marvel where it's like, oh, they were just going to give us a piece of content to consume with really nothing to say. They have that Marvel tendency to do a lot of awkward humor where the humor doesn't make sense. Like the scene where the assistant Falcon kicks those two soldiers and does like a little celebration in the woods. You can tell they were trying to be funny, and it just, for me, I was like, oh, this kind of dies. This kind of dies dead.
It never was alive.
No.
It was so bad.
But there's a good movie in there. There's a good movie in there because you see parts of it. You see parts of it. Like the Bucky scene, I really liked. In the scene where he comes in and Bucky, they're having this conversation, and it's a real conversation between two people that have history, and they're not putting up with each other's shit. They're being brutally honest, and like that, I love you at the end that Bucky gives to Sam. That was earned because those two have a long history, and that, I feel like that was an honest conversation. They put some kind of heart into this movie. I really liked the phone call between Harrison Ford and his daughter before he turns into the Red Hulk, when he's trying to make amends and like they're trying to say I forgive you and I love you, but it's just not quite clicking. That came off as very genuine to me.
Really?
Yeah, I really like that scene.
Interesting.
So I think there's a good movie in there somewhere, but this wasn't it. This wasn't it. I feel like with maybe a different script, maybe a different director, maybe there's a whole bunch of different things, but I do feel like buried somewhere in there, in some kind of cutting room floor or something, that there's a good movie somewhere. This was just not it.
Interesting. Interesting. I don't think there's a good movie in there. I think you have to start from scratch. And I think you do what you said earlier. You make it a Hulk movie. You don't sprinkle the new Captain America, old Falcon, and try to rebrand it. And you know why they did that, right? It's because there's not going to be another Hulk. There's not going to be another Red Hulk. There's not going to be another Harrison Ford Hulk. So they couldn't call it that because there's not going to be another one. And if like there might be one more, maybe. I can see that them trying to squeeze that in.
Yeah.
But I agree with you with the Bucky scene. I was like, for the first time, I was like, okay, here is something that's working, and it was working really well. And then at the end, I think they kind of pooped on it. But I do think I was like, okay, like out of all of this, I did appreciate this 90 seconds because that's all it was.
Yeah.
You know. Um, but I will say, like the phone call to his daughter, to me, that honestly, to me, it felt like he was standing in a room, and they're like, "All right, Harrison, talk, like, put the phone up to your ear and talk to your daughter, and like deliver your lines." And he's going through it, and there's nobody on the other end. And then they told Liv, "All right, Liv." 20 days later, when she was available, all right, like respond to this. And then her responses were like, "Dad, that sounds nice." I'm like, what the fuck?
That's so funny. I didn't get that vibe at all. That's probably what happened, but that was one of the scenes that I liked. And the Bucky scene, I'll agree with you. Like the ending, and like it's the Marvel thing where it's like that scene was, I think, what they wanted the whole movie to be like, right? Like that kind of just genuine, relational history, hope. Like it's just the vibe that the other three Captain America movies gave off, like heart, bravery, and integrity, and relationships. Like that 90 seconds, like if the whole movie could have been like that. But in typical Marvel fashion, they shit on it at the end with humor, unnecessary humor. It's like, oh, did your speechwriter help write that for you? Because they wanted to. Because at this point in Bucky's journey, he's running for Congress, right? Which leads into like the next Marvel movie and how the conflict comes in. But the humor, it just wasn't needed in that moment. Just let them have that moment. Just let him be like, look, this is not your fault. Like I sat with the other Captain America when he self-blamed, because when you self-blame, it helps you feel as if you're in control of things that really aren't your fault. It's just we live in a chaotic world. Sometimes bad things happen because bad people do bad things, and you, as a superhero, have to deal with that. He's like, I sat down and had that same conversation with Steve Rogers. He had that conversation with me. I'm having it with you. You are Captain America. You are a different Captain America, but you are Captain America. And you deserve to be Captain America. Let them have that scene, because that scene right there that's what that character needed. It was real, it was genuine, and they had to show it with humor. I'm just like, no, just let Sam be like, thank you, Bucky, and offer him to give him a ride to his fundraiser or something. I don't know, but don't infuse humor in it. It's not needed.
No. And that's that. And I mean, I don't know. I don't know who this director was. Maybe there was options where there wasn't any humor, and the studio was like, nope, let's get a couple takes where there is, you know. And then sure enough, studio execs were like, hold up, people are feeling things. People are feeling things. We can't fucking no. This is too much.
Yep.
This is too much for our audiences. We cannot let them feel this moment.
Yep.
Fucking infuse some like dumb humor, right? And it's like there's a balance of tension and relief. Tension and relief. That's good, dude. It's like read the room.
Yeah.
That is not a time for relief.
No.
In that regard.
Yeah, his buddy just got blown up in the Indian Ocean.
Yeah.
Like he's not even gonna make a joke at that point, or let Bucky make the joke. Don't let Captain America, who's obviously going through some shit right now, make the joke.
Yeah. And you know, which brings me to another point. I just go, man, these movies just there's no real stakes anymore. There's no real stakes, and it's just becoming further and further from reality. And I get it. It's a superhero movie. Let it be a fucking superhero movie. Okay, cool. Cool. But at least establish some real rules, like, and this is maybe me also just overthinking it, right? But okay, you have these suits that are bulletproof and whatever, right? But bomb proof? Like, if you're next to a bomb and it goes off, it's not necessarily like the fire that kills you. It is the force. And the force moving, like if someone's in a bodysuit next to an explosion, like a bomb suit, and the suit remains intact, guess what's inside? Jelly.
Yep.
And it's like that dude who had a subpar Falcon armor literally gets blown up by the thing, and he has a crack in his glass.
Not to mention you hit the ocean going at what, 80 miles an hour?
And then when he's in the water, like, or when he's on the table, like his back is what's burned. I'm just like,
Yeah, I'll give you that.
I'm
too.
like, come on, like,
You're right. You have to suspend some kind of belief for it to be like a superhero movie, but that's the issue I think with like this whole multiverse thing too. Is that there's no real consequences because just another version of somebody might be able to come back and like in Endgame it worked right when Thanos snapped those fingers and they brought all these characters back. Like then you're like yeah, but when it happens like over and over and over and over again, you're just like, I mean, give us like there's no because like you talk about the heart right where that's one thing I thought this movie was missing that the other Captain Americas did really well. Because there is, like we've talked about in the podcast before, there is zero reason for those Captain America movies to be that good. But because he's a really boring character. When you think about it, he's maybe a little too noble. He's a white guy, blue eyes, like he's extremely handsome, and you could argue he's just a government stooge. Really kind of boring character. So what do? They give him all the heart in the world, where he's like, I hate bullies. I could do this all day. Like just that Brooklyn heart where you're just like, yeah, I like him. He represents just something about good and whatever. I like him. And then you take him as like this government stooge, right? And you flip that on its head for arguably 2.5 movies. Where in the first Captain America, he's working for the US military, but to gain trust with the US military, he has to go rogue to save Bucky. And then he gets let into the cool club. But the second one, the government is essentially a bunch of Nazis, and they're hunting him because he knows his secret. Flipping the whole like, what does it mean to be Captain America? Is it to work for the government, or is it to stand up for the ideas that America hopes it can one day achieve? And then in Civil War, he just outright rejects the government altogether because they want to be his boss. And this one, he's working for the government essentially almost the whole time. When he gets arrested, there's no real consequences there because he has buddies in the military. There's just not and when Captain America got hit in those movies, like when Iron Man was beating the piss out of him in Civil War, you're like, I legit don't know if Bucky or Captain America is going to walk away from this because they're getting ass kicked in both movies. In this one, he's going to walk away from it. There's like, if he gets blown up by a missile in the Indian Ocean, it's all going to be fine. And so there's no like you're watching the action and it's the good action scenes. You get to watch Captain America ride a missile. That's pretty cool, but you're not worried about it because, like you said, he might as well have taken the serum because he's got freaking wings that are indestructible that shoot arrows out of him that cover him when he's getting hit. He might as well have taken the serum. Honestly, he's arguably now more powerful than Bucky and Steve because he has those wings that are indestructible.
Yeah,
and you're watching the action to watch. You're not watching the action genuinely concerned if the person that you're supposed to be rooting for is going to walk away from this.
Yeah. There was no consequences. And like another thing, like again, it's not Morbius bad. And I think about our friend that went and saw it that texted us. It was fine.
Yeah.
Right. And I just think, oh man, this movie's so forgettable.
Yeah.
It's so forgettable. It's just kind of a throwaway like a popcorn. I just want to just zone out, maybe, because I'm like, I still am going. I don't really understand the point of it, and the scenes, like, and you can tell that there was tons of reshoots because going from scene to scene to scene, it just seemed they were trying to piece something together as best as they could, and they had already spent a bunch of money on it, and they're just like, we just need to fuse this together.
Yeah.
So go and find a thing. Go and find a thing to make this work.
Yeah.
Go find a thing to make this work. But I remember thinking when I was watching it was when Harrison Ford turned red, Hulk red, Red Hulk. And then he's standing there and everyone's looking at him. And I go, great, guys. We all know the history of Hulk. You piss him off, he gets angry. Let's start shooting him.
Yeah, no kidding. Like the logic goes out the window.
Like,
it's not like let's calm him down.
Yeah, it's like, you know what? Red alert.
Yeah.
Like, what goes well when you fight the Hulk? Fire with fire.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go.
That's a good. I didn't even.
And it's like, you guys,
Yep.
how long have we dealt with the Hulk here? You know this. And then in the Blossoms, he rises out of the rubble. Mr. Ford, it's okay, it's me.
That's what should have happened 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
That there's no shooting, there's no big fight. It's just you do that, you take the logic that he showed in that moment, and obviously you get no action scene at that point, but it's the smart thing to do because you've got 20 years of Hulk you've been dealing with.
Yeah, and so it's just like things like that. I go,
I didn't think about that.
Man, this is just stupid. It's just stupid. Mr. Ford, come back to us.
Mr. Ross, please remember that we're in the cherry blossoms, and like he need in that like in that's always like when the bad guy gets stopped by some kind of emotional plea. Like, have you ever had a situation where that actually feels like it's earned? I can't think of one off the top of my head. Maybe there is one where it's like, well, I guess.
I mean,
there's
I can think of one that you probably love.
Darth Vader.
Well, Darth Vader, but I was also going to go Kylo Ren and
I did love that
and
one.
Harrison Ford.
I feel like that one was earned though. That was 3 movies of him being.
That's
like,
what I'm saying. Like that. Like, okay. It was earned.
Okay, this one was not earned. Where it's like,
no,
I just stabbed you in the gut. I just scratched your back at least 4 or 5 times. Lasered your eyes. Please don't hurt me because we're in the place where you and your daughter used to walk.
Mr. Ford.
Yep. Versus like we talked about this in the last podcast we were in. Probably this one will probably actually release first. But Emperor Palpatine torturing Luke Skywalker, right? And Luke's like, for the love of God, Dad, help me out. He's killing me. You've got in the for the generation of the boomers, 3 movies leading up to that moment where you were like, that's earned. For us, the millennials, the lucky ones, we've got 6 movies where we've watched this guy torture this man for 6 movies, and when his son needed help, he's like, you know what? He pleaded to me emotionally. I'm gonna throw away the dark side. Vader's gone. Anakin's back. For this, I'm just like you're right. It's like when you mentioned to me in the theater, his daughter's gonna show up, and I was like, I hope that she does, because that makes way more sense of him getting ready to punch Captain America, and her showing up, being like, look, don't hurt him. Remember that you're my dad, whatever. And then he calms back down. That makes way more sense than if Captain America, who at this point, I mean, he just tried to kill this guy, talks him down, and a cherry blossom happens to fall in his hand. Like what you mentioned to me in the theater that you thought was going to happen should have happened, because there ain't no way he's punching his daughter. Ain't no way. And it would have felt at least more believable.
Yeah,
I guess like in this fantasy world they live in of like superheroes, it would have felt way more believable if she would have showed up and just been like, don't hit him because you have to hit me to get to him. Like there ain't no way he's gonna hit her, because he spends the whole movie trying to reconnect with her. Ain't no way he's gonna hit her.
Yeah. There's just a lot. Like I thought Tim Blake Nelson's character, even his design, was awful.
It's not comic accurate either. I'm sure like the dialogue that I'm seeing on TikTok is that they were not happy. Even like the diehard Marvel people were not happy with his design because it's not comic accurate.
It's so bad. It is so bad. And then you go. They tried to hide it a lot during the movie, and I bet you it's because they were just like, what can we do? You know, it's going to save money because we don't have to do the full makeup if he's in a hood. That was probably a reshoot.
Yeah.
And he would just show up. He would just show up
anywhere where it's convenient for him to show up.
just and just like
how is this guy getting around
out of nowhere
and on a military base, nonetheless?
Yes. Oh, that's
where he kills a soldier. I'm just like, how did you get onto this military base, bro?
Yeah.
Like, I know you have mind control stuff, but there has to be limits to this.
Yeah. Dude, well, and also on the military base, when they first go there and they're walking through the woods and there's this like ruddy, caged chain link fence with barbed wire, and then you have these two massive satellites, and it's like, this is your perimeter. This is your perimeter for this secret underground lab. Give me a break.
And they've got the wings. Why did they drive there? Why didn't they just fly? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They've got the wings. Like, are we like on like a gasoline budget here? Like, it's gotta be cheaper to fly with your your vibranium wings than it is to drive there.
Yeah. It's just like,
because I will say I liked Harrison Ford in this movie. I felt like he was generally giving it all with what he was given.
yeah.
And I've heard stuff that like he's not the easiest actor to work with. I don't know, he's 85 years old. Of course, going to be grumpy every now and again. But I really, from what I watched, I was like, he's into this role and he's giving it his all. There were I feel like he was a good president. He was very charismatic. I thought when he was like under stress, he did that really well. I really enjoyed Captain America in this movie. I thought he was a great, I'm by him as Captain America. He didn't have a lot to work with this movie, but I'm like, he's more than earned that mantle as like the new Captain America. The one throw-in I feel like, I know this was a reshoot, is that I feel like an unnecessary villain was the guy from Breaking Bad. What's that guy's name?
Oh, Gustavo Fring. He's not. Let me look his name up. But
that dude should be a villain in like his own movie. And from what I've read online is that he was brought in for the reshoots because his name gets more people into the theater. But he didn't have enough to do. I thought he could have been the villain of this movie or put him in a different movie. And I didn't like that he was shoehorned.
Giancarlo Esposito.
Yeah, he's too good of an actor to be a third. There's too many villains too. I think like just too. Who's like. There's too many villains. They were Hulk villains. They weren't Captain America villains. And I think in the end, if people are asking, watch in theater, stream it or skip it, I would say if you're a Marvel fanatic, stream it. But if not, I'd say skip it.
Yeah, I would say skip it. I mean, there's no real merit to it. And like I will say, I appreciated Harrison Ford performance-wise. I also believe that he was like trying to give it his all. I felt like there was a few actors that were genuinely trying to approach this with story in mind. Harrison Ford was one of those. Bucky was one of those.
Yeah.
Outside of that, dude, I love Liv Tyler. I did not think she was great in this.
No.
She had one moment. She had two moments. One over the phone, and then again at the very end. Hi, Dad. We can just sit and talk for a while.
Yeah.
It was like,
man, like if you would have showed up earlier, you would have solved a lot of problems. Betty Ross.
If you
would have had this conversation 2 hours ago, there'd be no Red Hulk.
And I don't blame her.
Yeah.
I want to blame the director for the performance, but But any director on a Disney movie nowadays, as that big, a director has no control.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, if they're doing a great job, they've got control. If something has gone off the rails, or the studio just isn't happy with where things at or whatever, dude, uh, someone's on deck trying to fix that. Kevin Feige,
Yeah.
just someone's trying to fix it, right?
Yeah.
But I yeah, it's hard for me to blame like actors like that with performances like that. I thought the same for Tim Blake Nelson. That dude is a great actor. He has phenomenal roles. And then this just felt so forced. That's what this movie felt to me.
Force.
Forced.
It felt like content.
Everything was forced. There was no reason or rhyme. It just was, let's put something out. We have an agenda to fulfill. We have a number of cinematic universes to hit. This is checking the box and moving us along. And I mean, I really think the problem lies within the script. Skip.
Skip, stream if you're a Marvel fan, and you absolutely have to watch it, because if you want to understand Captain America in the next Avengers movie, you're going to have to watch this.
If you're a Marvel fan, skip it. Because if you want good Marvel movies to come back out, you got to stop rewarding them.
That's true.
You got to stop. I'm looking at you. You got to stop. Stop rewarding bad behavior.
It's almost like an addiction. Like, you're this far into the story, you're 17 years into a story. It's almost like, okay, fatty, like, here's your new shitty piece of cake, but you're so addicted at this point that you have no choice unless you want this next cake that's coming.
Dude, and to go even further with that, I also was thinking, right? So we're what, 17 years in?
The first one came out in 2008. So 18 years in.
18 years in. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so. Iron Man was the first one.
Okay, but X-Men, I know this is not the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but I'm just talking about superhero movies.
Oh, it would be 2000. X-Men, the first one with Hugh Jackman, 2000. That's when like Fantastic Four came out, Daredevil came out, but X-Men was the good one. Blade.
Right. So 25 years. This is 2.5 decades. And when we went to see this movie, what were the trailers? Superman, Fantastic Four. They weren't in this one, which I was surprised. But there's the new Thunderbolts. I cannot do another decade of just superhero movies. I cannot. I just can't. Stop rewarding bad behavior.
Yeah, and it's because like we've had this discussion on the podcast too, where I like superhero movies, right? And so I'm probably one of the in the population of like, oh, I think I'm addicted at this point where I have to see the next one, or else I won't know what's happening in the next one or the next one or whatever. But like, as a fan of superhero movies, like, it's possible to make a damn we have a whole episode dedicated to Logan, right? At this point in the podcast, you can't tell me that you didn't cry in Guardians of the Galaxy 3 over a fucking CGI character, bro.
No,
over a CGI character.
Absolutely.
You cried.
Absolutely.
I did too.
Yeah.
Why? Because that show that they did, it's a solid script. The humor hits. You give a shit about these characters, and they didn't ruin these emotional moments with humor. To where, like, when you watch that little otter die, or you find out what they did to Rocket Raccoon, who's a CGI character, you're like, oh, you cry. And then when the villain in that movie, what's his name? People are gonna get so pissed. The villain in that movie,
wasn't he the abuser?
He's got what's his name?
I don't want to spread rumors.
What's his name?
In the purple suit.
Yes. What is? I have to get his name right.
Wasn't there a bunch of controversy with him? Didn't he totally get canceled?
He might have got canceled, but he it's not the High Evolutionary. That's his name. The High Evolutionary, right? When he's going, because you watch him experiment on Rocket Raccoon. You watch him. Does he have controversy?
Chukwudi Iwuji.
Yeah, him.
I'll look. But continue your thought.
He experiments on Rocket Raccoon. You see him murder like Rocket's friend, these other creatures that he's experimented on. When he gets his ass kicked in the end of the movie, where freaking Drax, Groot, Gamora, Chris Pratt's character, when they're all beating on him, you're like, yeah, you beat on him, bro. You make him feel that because you watch and you're emotionally invested in these CGI characters. Like it's possible to do that in Marvel still, and this wasn't it.
Oh, I don't know if he was canceled or not. I don't want to spread rumors.
All right.
Maybe I'm thinking of another. There was another. I thought it was him, but if it wasn't you, I apologize. I don't believe in the cancel culture.
But like you watch him get his ass kicking at the end, like that was such a sweet moment where he's walking in, he's charging after Rocket Raccoon. Groot grabs him, slams him against the wall. Peter Quill comes in, starts hitting him in the face. Gamora comes in, stabs him a few times. Drax comes in, throws against the wall. It's like this tag team effort to beat the shit out of this one guy because you give a shit about what he did to a CGI character. And I just think that's awesome. And this wasn't it. Like there could have been moments in this where if I gave a little bit more shit, where it's like, I can't believe they throw this guy in jail. I can't believe Falcon's best friend got blown up. I can't believe that America's not accepting a black Captain America. But it just, and James Gunn made us care about a CGI raccoon and his otter friend.
Well, and it's like you take that for a great example, right? Like why James Gunn is successful is he understands a narrative point of view, a strong, central, single narrative point of view. First movie, Peter Quill. Third movie, Rocket, right? When you have these bangers that hit, it's because it is a single narrative point of view. Sure, there's in this universe and there's other characters colliding, but it is
Their story.
And it's told through their eyes all the way through. So, like, what is it? What's this? Infinity War? Thanos' narrative point of view.
Mm-hmm.
Like, amazing, right? The first Iron Man, just Iron Man's point of view, incredible.
Ryan Coogler's good too. He does good Marvel movies, like Black Panther.
Yeah.
Like Black Panther 2, like that movie was somber and needed to be somber. And they didn't screw up with humor, which was awesome. It had a message to send of like anti-colonialism, or what is it, like these two populations, these Mexicans that live under the ocean, and this country of African people from Africa, Africans, they collide because they're both grieving. They've been traumatized by the world. That movie was somber and it was gritty and it was in that Marvel universe and they let it be. And like, I'm not going to say that I think directors shouldn't have all the leash, if that makes sense, like in this universe, because Thor: Love and Thunder was terrible. And it was a movie that was just. Did you see Love and Thunder?
Yeah.
I like Taika Waititi's movies, but that was not it. It was just I think it went off the rails. I think it was just not what it needed to be. But I think that I'm trying to think of the right way to say this. I think that when you compare the two, even though Thor: Love and Thunder was a massive screw up, in my opinion, I think that the majority of the time, directors will make better movies than studios.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there's like that 1% where you get like a Thor: Love and Thunder where it's like, do whatever you want, here's the check, and you get whatever that was. But most of the time, directors will make better movies than studios. You can push back if you want. I'm talking out of my ass right here.
I believe you.
And this movie was screwed up and interfered with by the studio to where it was almost like a zombified version of what they were trying to put out. There's like Captain America: Brave New World. There's nothing brave and there's nothing new about this movie.
Well, and dude, what was that thing in the water?
What thing?
The thing where the adamantium was, the celestial.
Oh, that's another movie. It's the Eternals.
Oh,
The Eternals. Someone dies in this big fight at the end. That's another thing. It's another movie you have to have seen to know what's going on.
Yeah, I'm like,
And
what the fuck is this thing?
It's a god that died. It became an island, and when it decayed, it didn't decay.
You know what he looked
decayed
like? He looked like
like
the
adamantium.
fucking. He looked like that fucking evil plankton
From
from
SpongeBob.
SpongeBob when he wears the thing.
Oh yeah.
And he's like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's what it looked like in the water.
That's the thing. Is like these movies now, like this universe is just so big that when you try to loop in like all these Easter eggs for people, it becomes too big to where people that maybe don't know that reference can't understand what the heck's going on.
I'm trying to look at what this director has directed.
What's the director's name?
His name is Julius Ona. Captain America, a movie called Loose. I haven't heard of that. The Cloverfield Paradox. I started watching that on Netflix. I didn't even finish the first episode. A bunch of short films. Dude, I'm like trying to figure out why this director was given the reins on this.
Huh.
There's nothing in his. I mean, I could be ignorant. I don't know. I haven't seen any of these other things. I've never heard of any of them. The only thing I heard of was the Cloverfield Paradox, and that was like meh. And it got, I mean, Metascore 37, 5 out of 10. Like what did he do to get this movie? I don't know. That's $200 million.
How many like independent films could that make?
Bro,
So much money.
so much money. And that's the thing, it's like how many more movies, how many more new IP could you make with 200 million? You know?
Yeah.
It's like they're trying to gobble up all of their seed. It's like, what are you planning for the future?
Yeah.
You're just gonna, go, well, I'm not gonna live on this earth forever, so as a studio exec, I'm just gonna swallow up as much as I can, and then the next CEO can figure out what they're gonna do.
Yeah.
Anyways, back to my point of like, whose story was this? Like, was it Captain America's? Was it the Falcons? Was it Tim Blake Nelson's character? Stewart? Was it Harrison Ford? Was it, what was his name? Jeremiah? Isaiah
Bradley.
Who, like, was it the 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 Black Widow character?
Oh, the Israeli Black Widow character.
Uh,
You can't tell me that she was not shooting. It feel like she didn't belong there either. And out of all the nationalities that she could have been, she had to be Israeli. That felt like it was like a studio of like, hey, we're not the woke company you think we are. Here's an Israeli Black Widow for you.
well, wasn't that in a?
No, all the Black Widows that I know are Russian.
Yeah, Russian. Wasn't she Russian?
No, she was Israeli, bro. When you were taking a piss, they mentioned that she was Israeli.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's okay.
But she's not Russian.
See, dude, I took a piss.
40 seconds. Maybe. That's all you were gone.
But it was like, I don't feel like I missed anything.
Yeah.
Like, what was there to miss?
And it's I think I don't think that superhero fatigue is a real thing. I think people are tired of stuff like this, where it's like, here is your like 0-calorie whatever, but it has the same effect. Like the Penguin that came out last year. People loved the Penguin because it was a mob story that happened to involve people that have superhero characters. The first Joker. That is a study of mental health with the Joker.
It's a character study.
Yeah. People like. Can you think of a superhero movie that's come out in the last 3 years where there's, because Deadpool and Wolverine has a different story because it had all these cameos and Wolverine's coming back. over the last couple of years, a movie that had more hype and excitement around it and the sequel than the Batman? I can't.
In terms of superhero
It's two
movies,
superhero movies.
I mean, Guardians 3.
Guardians 3. And then we've been 10 years with Guardians. And honestly, like, Batman has the name, but it was a new Batman, and it was, I would say, a controversial Batman because people know him as Twilight, not knowing that that guy is an amazing actor. Rob Pattinson is an amazing,
He is really good.
amazing actor. He was great in the Batman. The story was great. It was a detective movie that happened. It was a murder mystery movie that happened to involve Batman. And every time that that movie gets delayed, the outrage I see on the internet is amazing because people want the next chapter of that story that he's telling. It's frustrating, but they're taking their time. They're doing the script right. They're doing the story right. They're making an overarching theme. It doesn't involve cameos. It doesn't involve Superman. It doesn't involve all these different things. It is a Batman story that's well done, well acted, and doesn't have like this formulaic formula that people are growing tired of. The needless humor, the feel nothing. Like I'm gonna forget tomorrow that I saw this movie, and it's sad. I love Captain America.
Yeah, you're a huge Cap fan.
God, when I watched Captain America: The Civil War for the first time, and the ending happened where Captain America chooses his best friend over Iron Man, despite the fact that his best friend killed Iron Man's parents. I drove home and I was like, man, I can't believe that's how that movie turned out. That was a brave movie and a new world for MCU because the Avengers were split.
They should have called that Captain America: Brave New World.
Because it was the ending did not happen the way I thought it was. When I was watching the movie, I thought that Captain America, Iron Man, and Bucky were all going to reconcile, and Black Panther, and go fight this team of super soldiers. Right? That's how they were kind of walking you through this movie at the end of like, okay, there's these new super soldiers. Captain America and Iron Man are fighting now, but they're going to make up because that's what people do. They get there, come to find out all the super soldiers are dead, and the villain, who's a normal guy, was like, "No, I brought you here so you guys can learn the truth and you guys can fight among yourselves." And that was a twist for me. I was like, I did not think that this movie was going to end with Iron Man and Captain America fighting each other and hating each other more than they did, originally when the movie started. And because of that, Thanos came. Thanos won because he found the divided Avengers. That movie was brave in the direction it took, and it was a new world they were living in. Like I said in the review, there was nothing brave or new about Captain America: Brave New World.
No.
And it's too bad.
No, it's just.
But I will say, the benefit of watching this movie when we watched it at 1 p.m. on a Thursday is that there were almost no people, which is very enjoyable because watching a Marvel movie with Marvel diehards in a theater in the first couple of days sucks because people chat, they cheer for cameos, and that cringeworthy humor, they eat that shit up, and that stuff drives me nuts.
I will say though, I'm surprised. It came out last weekend.
Yeah,
There should have been more people in that theater. There was six. Six of us in a 450 seat auditorium. 5 days after the release date.
yeah,
Like that's I have two thoughts on that. I mean, one, you can look at it and go, yeah, it's a regular work day, right? But it's like 6 people. There's a lot of people here. And there's a lot of moviegoers here. Utah is a huge revenue maker for films. I think at one point Jordan Commons Megaplex is like the number one theater chain that brings in money on opening weekends. But so I'm like, okay, you could explain that. But then there's two other things that is one's like concerning, the other is maybe concerning, also maybe awesome. And it's like, okay, people are fatigued and they heard that it was bad. They're like, yeah, I'm just not going to go see it, right? The other thing that's concerning is like it is day 5 since that came out, I think. That's kind of concerning for like the movie going experience. for the theatrical experience.
Yeah.
I don't want theaters to go away.
I don't either.
Theaters are and have been going away. Like that's kind of concerning to me. Now you have these other things that come out that kind of re-spark that. Oh yeah, going to the movie theater is back and it's not going away. Like that was with Oppenheimer, with Dune, Barbenheimer, right? There's these things. Yeah. Top Gun Maverick was kind of the rebirth after COVID, the first real one, right?
That actually made money.
Yeah. And I was like, oh yeah, no, movie theaters are still a viable thing, but it's still concerning.
Yeah, I'm definitely I'm gonna brush your boat a little bit because opening weekend it did make 100 million in the United States and 120 million overseas, so it has I think in the green already, but it will die this week. There's a big prediction online that the word of mouth is spreading that it's not that good, and they're expecting something like an 80% drop off this weekend, where it may pull in 25, 30 million or something like that.
I'm just trying to look up. Oh no, that's why. I'm like, what's the budget on this? But I was still on the director's page. I want to find out budget. 180 million estimated. Opening weekend, U.S. and Canada, 88 million. Gross U.S. and Canada, 106. Gross worldwide, 204. So they're in the green. which means they're just going to keep making it.
Yeah.
It's not as much as and over time that's going to double. Like that's just how it is. It's going to double.
And I think one thing you mentioned, I think you're right on, is that and this is true even like in the anti-trafficking sphere. If you want companies that profit over bad product, or let's talk exploitation, you know where you get them to change their ways? You go for the pants. You have to affect their wallet. If they do not start seeing it reflected in their wallets, they will not change.
Nope.
There's no reason for them to.
Nope.
I hope that theaters don't go away. And he's back.
And our water heater is back. I'm glad that most of. Oh, did that just not? Is that not even going?
I think this one died a couple.
Oh.
So hopefully this audio works.
Is that working for me? Check. Okay, yeah, mine's working.
Okay.
Well, so this happened before. You're hearing my water softener do its thing. This happened before. I was able to do a workaround. It's slightly, if you haven't listened to the
Last of Us,
the Last of Us, it's in there. This is probably going to be in there, but I think it's.
I think we're coming to an end anyway.
Yeah,
right?
We're pretty much coming to an end. So, but yes, you have to affect their wallet. Did my phone crack again? Dude, what a shitty.
You got to get yourself one of these, bro. A self charger where you get double battery.
How am I getting that cracked? Wow. Yeah, there was a moment though in there that I was thinking as I was watching it. I was like, yeah, this movie was shit. And it's fine. It's fine. But again, I do think it's pretty shit. And you have to affect the wallet for it to change. But I was kind of like, man, I bet there were some fun times on that set.
Yeah.
As a filmmaker, I was like, I bet this was pretty fun to some degree. And when you're making movies, there are times when you're on set and you're looking at the crew member next to you, and you're not saying anything, but you can hear the other person communicate with you, and you both are going, this is going to be awful. You don't say anything, but you just know. And then the other times where you're just like having a great time, you think it's going to be great, and then you see the end result and you're like, oh, that was not like what we thought it was going to be. Like, that was a fun shoot to work on. You know, and I've always wondered about that, actually. Not to restart another conversation with all of this noise in the background, but I've always wondered, like, when you know it's shit, how do you go and promote it? Right? You got to go and put a smile on your face and go, oh, it's the best movie. Like, you got to go see it. I think it's the best one I've ever done. Right? And you go, how? How are you saying this? And I've in my mind, I'm like, there has to be contractual obligations, blah 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 blah. And I was listening
NDAs maybe.
NDAs, and I was listening to another podcast, Smartless, which I love. It's really funny. Jason Bateman, William Arnett, and Seth. Anyways, I forget, and I could have, maybe it's not those three, but anyways, actors. Two of them are actors. The other one's producer, I think. All comedians. And Jason Bateman goes, we've all had to do one of those movies where we have to promote it, but we know that it was a piece of shit. And I go, okay, I'm not crazy. They have to do it because they have to do it.
Yeah.
They
want to get paid.
They want to get paid. They got to do it, right? But it's still, I don't know. It would be hard for me. It would be hard. My face would lie. My face would tell you I'm lying. It's like, Sam, what did you think about the movie? It was really good, bro.
Fun to make.
It was really good, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, I think of like, I'll end this with my last thought. And there's a scene in The Lord of the Rings, right, where Frodo makes reference to, I think, Gandalf or Bilbo, where he's Bilbo, about him reading Bilbo's old adventures, and his own adventure turned out to be quite different. But for us, it's interesting all the same, because it's his own adventure.
Yeah.
That scene, I go back to that scene with Bucky and Sam, where it was heartfelt, and it was Sam showing his vulnerability of like, I don't feel worthy to hold this shield, but I'm just going to take it one day at a time and one step at a time, and Bucky encouraging that, like we talked about on the podcast. It reminded me of that scene from Lord of the Rings where we know Bilbo's journey, we know Frodo's journey, and we care about both of them. In this one, Sam essentially telling Bucky, I don't feel worthy to have this shield. My own adventure turned out to be quite different. I wish I cared more about his adventure. For one, I wish I cared more, but I didn't. And two, I think in this like zombified version of this movie with all these reshoots, I think that scene is what they wanted permeated throughout their whole movie. And man, I would have loved that. Like a Captain America trying to live up to this shield and at the same time forging his own journey. That would have been one hell of a movie if it would have permeated that same vibe that we got for that 2.5 minutes with Bucky. And it's just a shame. It's a shame that we got a zombified version of that. That was essentially had some good moments, but at the end, just a whole lot of nothing.
Whole lot of nothing. Whole lot of empty calories.
Yep. Yeah. It had some good action. I thought Harrison Ford tried really hard. But just
Mr. Ford.
Mr. Ford, please don't try to kill me again.
Would you calm down? You're a little red in the face.
There's a lot of characters too. There's a lot of characters. Like you mentioned, like whose movie is it? A lot of characters. And I wish we would have got a movie with the same spirit and heart that one scene encapsulated. Because man, that was a hell of a scene. And I wish the rest of the movie reflected that.
Yeah. All right. Well, my closing thought will be, I'm a filmmaker. I know how hard it is to make movies. I know how many hoops that you have to hop through to get things done. there's a lot of things you don't want to do that you have to do just because someone above the line is telling you to do it, right? So it's like, it's hard for me to go, man, what a bad movie, because I don't think they're bad filmmakers, because they're probably not. But the almighty dollar got in the way with a monopoly studio that is only at the end of the day is caring about the formula that's going to bring in the most money. And it's unfortunate that that is kind of the era of movies we're in as a whole, but especially like the superhero genre, because they can just there's no stakes. They can just bring everything back. They can just go to another universe.
I have 2 comments. I have 1 comment, 1 question. And this is coming from a place of genuine curiosity. From you mentioned that you're a filmmaker, and so I have a question. First thing is that this movie does not have an accurate name, Captain America: Brave New World. There's nothing brave or new about it. It should be called Captain America: Brave New Bird. Brave New Bird. There's another Captain America. He's got wings and he's got a friend. Captain America: Brave New Bird, not Brave New World. 2, you talk about the monopoly that superhero movies have. That this movie, which is a whole lot of nothing, brought in at this point, 6 days in, $200 million across the world. Do you think movies like this are keeping cinemas afloat?
I would say probably yes, only because that's all the studios are making. There's really no room for anything else. I mean, you go to a movie, right, and you can pay a steep ticket price, but movie theaters, man, like, it costs more for a large soda than the movie.
My chicken wings I got this time were $15.
Yeah, it's like, that's the shit you're paying for. That's keeping the lights on in a movie theater. Is concessions and the markup of concessions. I mean, a soda is like literally $8. A large soda is like $8. And how much does that $8 buy on their end? A lot of syrup. A lot of syrup. So the profit margin on drinks alone on a movie theater is astronomical at an $8 a pop drink. So yeah, I mean, if more, that's a hard thing, because
It sucks, man, because there's no reason that like Civil War should have made less than Godzilla vs. Kong Part 2, but it did.
well, part of it's like also like a studio like Disney has $200 million to make a movie, and then they have at least $200 million just on market spend. Right? I don't know if that $200 million budget includes any marketing or advertising. Probably not. And they probably spent another, at least half, maybe the same amount as it costs to make the movie to advertise it. So by that standard, they're probably still in the red. But a movie like Civil War doesn't have $200 million for advertising, so people don't know about it. But every single superhero movie has advertising at the beginning of it for the next superhero movie, and at the end of it for this one will return. So it's a constant cycle of advertising.
Yeah.
Not all other movies don't have that type of cycle of advertising, which hurts. It really hurts.
Yeah. Huh. I just wonder that, just like the irony of it, where it's like, you know, at the end of the day, Captain America: Brave New World, a not that great movie, is what's helping the cinema experience survive. Like, just the irony there, it kind of makes me sick, bro. Where it's like, why can't a movie like Heretic bring in $500 million and then keep cinema alive or whatever? It has to be like this whole lot of nothing that does it.
Well, again, I think right. It's the almighty dollar is what is the almighty dollar, the commercialism and the monetization aspect of everything that we do in this country.
Yeah.
Is really what's killing experiences like movie theaters, because it's how much more profit can we make? You know, how many hundreds of millions of dollars do these executives get every year?
Oh, dude,
And it's like
too much.
too much.
It's like like this. I was just reading today on the Wall Street Journal that the CEO of Starbucks signed like an $80 million signing bonus for his coming on to Starbucks, and they're giving him a private jet to commute from LA to Seattle 3 times a week.
I'm like,
oh gosh.
I'm all for it. I'm all for people building an empire and making their money, and however much money they make, good for them, right? But when it becomes at the detriment of other people,
Yeah.
and other people are not getting fair and appropriate compensation, then I'm like, fuck you.
Mm-hmm. And the fact that the quality has just gone down. Like there's no, call it superhero fatigue, whatever. It's like back in the day, we got Captain America: The Winter Soldier, Black Panther, and Guardians of the Galaxy all within a span of like 3 years. Those are 3 really good, not just superhero movies, but movies in general.
Yeah.
And in the last 3 years, we've got the Marvels, this, and then Deadpool and Wolverine, which I kind of is like a throw in because Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman got together and convinced they to do this movie. You take that one out, it's the Eternals. These 3 just nothing. It's just a bunch of nothing that you have to watch to keep up with the story. Versus like if this company like Disney has this monopoly, has all this money to dump into the system, and they're producing movies like Black Panther, Captain America: The Winter Soldier, and Guardians of the Galaxy, more power to them. Keep doing it because I'm enjoying those movies and it's keeping us cinema alive. But with this, it's just not only that like, they're monopolizing everything, they are giving you zero. They're giving you this Dr. Pepper zero sugar when you just want a Dr. Pepper with your calories. But they're just like, well, you need to drink. So
Hey, Dr. Pepper Zero is good.
yeah, but compared to like the Dr. Pepper, bro.
But didn't you want that?
Yeah, because that's 0 calories. And this is, it's not a perfect analogy, but you got my point.
Yeah.
I'm just like, they're not producing good stuff consistently like they used to, and that's why like us fans of Marvel, there's a point. It's like you're gonna make me consume Captain America: Brave New World when not 10 years ago you gave me another Captain America movie that I still rewatch every year because it's that good. Come on, man.
And I'll say two more thoughts.
Okay.
I think another thing that's hurting the theatrical experience is streaming, right? Streaming
Yeah.
services. That has changed the game quite a bit. But also social media. The demand and the instant gratification of I want what I want and I want it now. And the fact that fans can get together and just go, let's demand this, and then if we don't get it, we're going to review bomb. Like that isn't helping anything, right? It's just like I hate that entitlement. I hate that entitlement. I mean, take for example, it's going on a different note, like Naughty Dog's new announcement of Intergalactic, I think, massively review bombed. Massively
Already.
review bombed. Already. Just off of the trailer, right? And then you have unsuspecting people that are going to look it up and it's just going to have awful, awful reviews. And they're going, oh, I'm not going to get that.
Yep.
And it's like, because people were upset and then studios have to cater to the fans, and the fans don't really know what they want all the time.
No.
They think they think they know, but when they get it, it's not really what they wanted in the first place, and then they're upset. So that is a problem because the studios are trying to constantly chase the algorithm of what the people want. But what the people want is never static. It's always a moving target, and it's never going to hit. So I think that's a huge problem that's affecting everything.
Yeah. I'm just add one caveat to that. Not even a caveat, like an addition, is that social media, that instant gratification, bleeds into the theater, and we've talked about this, and it affects your theater going experience.
Yeah.
Like it's like I had a great time today, honestly. Like despite the movie not being that great, I was hanging out with you.
Yeah.
I got to go to the theater. I was comfortable in my chair. The temperature was on point. I had some expensive but good chicken fingers with some tater tots. Like my experience was pleasant. And social media can really make that experience suck. When you're in the theater, people are hooping and hollering, but they're on their phones
Yep.
because they can't be off of social media for more than an hour and a half or an hour or whatever it is without checking their stuff. And it makes my theater going experience less enjoyable to where I want to watch it streaming. Because in streaming, the bathroom's right there, my chicken fingers are free, and there's nobody on their phone annoying me while I watch this movie. And so our addiction to that instant gratification, I think, affects the overall theater going experience as well.
Yeah. I agree, man.
So I guess that is our review for Captain America: Brave New Bird. And what's our next one we're going to review? What's the next one coming out that we're going to see?
Oh man, I don't even know. What were you saying? You need to watch this.
Daredevil.
No, it was on streaming, I think.
Was it? The Gabby Petito.
Oh, maybe it was that, or maybe I'm thinking back to our earlier conversation, Miscongeniality.
Dude, you gotta watch that documentary though. Oh my gosh, I wanted to kill that piece of shit Brian after watching that documentary. After he murdered Gabby, I'm just like, yeah, watch it. 3 episodes long. They're about 40 minutes per episode. It's not long. It's not a long documentary. But man, and it happened in Wyoming. She was murdered in Grand Teton National Park. Yeah.
Yeah,
May he rest in hell.
Sad story. I think he went and killed himself.
Yeah, he did. He went into the woods and killed himself. And an innocent kid with OCD that wanted to become a YouTube star. 20 years old. Like the footage that they showed of her being stopped by the police and just this innocent, sweet kid. And, the police, unfortunately, in Moab were like, you know what? She seems like the aggressor here, not him. Bro, God. And, 14 days later, she's dead.
Yeah, man. Another, and I don't know. It's like I think that could also fall into another victim of social media, wanting this lifestyle, wanting this fame to be
The van life, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because that's just not. Some people live that life, right? But that's just not a reality for most people. Most people can't make a living for the rest of their life doing that. Some people can, and maybe that seems like a higher number of people, and the world is changing. Like maybe that's the new way of making money.
But it's also social media, so we're only seeing the best versions of that.
Yeah.
You're getting on your algorithm the 10 people that have made a living doing the van YouTube life. You're not seeing the 500 other people with 20 views per video that decide to take that same risk and are not doing it successfully.
Yeah. Regardless of all of that, incredibly sad.
Yeah. But yeah, so I guess we'll see what our next movie is. It's definitely gonna be that A24 one. Definitely.
Warfare.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, man. Bring us home.
Well, thanks for joining us on an episode of Locked Off Logic. We reviewed Captain Dump.
Dump Brave New Bird.
Brave new bird. God bless you. Hope you sleep well at night.
Yep.
And be sure to tell someone that you love them.
Boom. That was a good review, man.
Boom.
I knew you didn't like it.
I knew it.
Yeah.
I was like, he is